It's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your neighbor is? With the rapid increase of law enforcement presence in the US, it's becoming ever more important to know where your neighbors are. In times of crisis, you will always be the closest person to your neighbor, and vice versa. Before any first responders get there, your neighbors will. Because of this, it's becoming ever more important to maintain good relationships with your neighbors. This begs the question, how can I be a better neighbor? Well, lucky for you, that's exactly what this video is about. For those of you who have no idea who your neighbors are, I've broken down the stages on how to meet your neighbor, and I'll include a slide at the end of the video so you can screenshot. It'll be like a list bullet pointed. So, how do you meet your neighbors? That's part one, right? You can't help neighbors that you've never met. So, first of all, let's just keep in mind that your neighbors are just people too. There's not really anything different about them except that they live close to you. You know, everybody might have like one weird neighbor or a couple. Maybe you're the weird neighbor, you know, but at the end of the day, everybody's just a person. So we should treat them like that. Every interaction, try to get to know them more, just like they're a new friend, okay? So also to note, I've broken this down into 3 stages. Don't do these stages back to back. You should not be at your neighbor's house every single day, knock, 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 because they don't know you yet. If you know your neighbor and you have that kind of relationship with them, then sure, you know, treat them like a friend. If you would show up at your friend's house every day, do that with your neighbor. But for now, they're a stranger. So here's what we're gonna do, all right? And give them like a few days to a week between stages. That way you just don't overwhelm your neighbors. But stage 1, obviously, we're gonna introduce ourselves. You're gonna just knock on their door. If they answer the door, you're gonna say, hi, my name is blank. I live at number blank, whether that's apartment number or house number. I'm stopping by to meet my neighbors. What's your name? And you know, if they engage in conversation with you, that's great. If they shut the door, that's okay too. Maybe just don't bug them, okay? Not every single neighbor is gonna be your friend. We're looking for neighbors that would love to meet you too. Eventually, right, it would be great to know every neighbor and be on good terms with all of them and to be able to take care of everybody, but not everyone wants to be taken care of, and that is something that we'll have to come to terms with. So at the end of that interaction, let them know that if they need anything, they can stop by. Again, you told them your house number or apartment number, and note either in your phone or, you know, write it down, the name and the house number of that neighbor. That way you don't forget either, okay? Stage 2, again, a couple days or a week after stage 1, you're gonna bring by something extra. Okay, so this isn't gonna be like cooking a 5-course meal for your neighbor. This is gonna be, oh, I got something delivered and they accidentally sent me 2. Do you want one? Or, oh, I made cookies and I have too many. Here's a plate of them, you know? Or maybe even if you know their dietary requirements already, which, you know, maybe you will, maybe you don't, maybe bring them some leftovers, right? If you get flowers and there's just don't fit in your vase, bring a couple over, right? Things like that. So you're gonna show up with your extra, and that's like something that you won't be offended if they don't take, first and foremost. And you wanna keep it small. You don't wanna overwhelm them. You don't wanna make it seem like you are throwing money at them to try and win them over. But you're gonna bring them something, you're gonna say, knock, knock. Hi, it's me again from number whatever, especially if they haven't visited your house yet and they might not remember. I got some extra this, or I made some extra this. I brought some over for you. How are you doing today? And you have a little conversation, right? And towards the end of it, you say, you know, do you have any special dietary requirements? Like for me, for example, I don't eat blank, blank, blank. So I would say, I don't eat pork, seafood, or mushrooms. Do you have any dietary requirements? And oftentimes they'll share that with you and write it down, okay? So now your file mentally for this person, but ideally written down, will just look something like Jen, apartment 495, dairy-free, right? And that's what you know about them at a minimum, okay? Write it down, write it down, write it down. Stage 3, leftovers and info. A couple days to a week after this, let's say you're making something and it happens to not have dairy in it. And you know your neighbor Jen is dairy-free. So you're gonna come by around 6 to 8 p.m. when people are done with work and eating dinner, and you're gonna say, hey, I made a little too much of this and I packaged it up for you, put it in Tupperware. And keep in mind on all this, if you bring your neighbor anything, especially if you do not know them, put it in Tupperware, you're okay losing. Reuse that Cool Whip container, okay? Like, do not send them your Pyrex. But yeah, go, you know, I made a little too much of this and it's dairy free, so I thought of you, and here you are. And then chat with them because they're a person and you love your neighbor. You don't know them yet, but you love your neighbor. So bring by that food, and at the end of that interaction, if you haven't already, you exchange information, right? Yeah, you know, I'd love to get your number. Maybe we can hang out sometime, grab coffee. I'd love getting to know people around the neighborhood and knowing who my neighbors are. And you make it clear that your intent is to know people and build community, not so much romantic, because a lot of your neighbors are already married, already in relationships, and the last thing they want is someone being creepy that knows where they live and is very close to them. So keep it very light, keep it very expectation free, and you're just trying to get to know them. So that is the 3 stages of meeting your neighbor, okay? You're gonna introduce yourself, you're going to bring them something extra, and you're going to find an excuse to come over with something that they can eat, and you're gonna give them your information. You probably want to leave off that last interaction, just, you know, if you need anything, or, you know, whatever, here's my phone number. Sometimes they'll give you theirs, sometimes they won't, just offer yours, and that's okay. They might even lose it, you know, some of your neighbors have ADHD too, and that's okay. So those are the stages of getting to know your neighbor. Next is knowing your neighbor, right? So just like I said, you're gonna wanna keep notes on things that you know about your neighbor. For most people, that's gonna be like in your phone, right? In my notes app, it'll say neighbors at the top, it'll say the address, like the number. For example, Jen isn't a real person in this equation, but we're using her as an example. So it would be, you know, 419 Jen, no dairy. And everything that she tells me that might be relevant, like who lives with her, what her job is, what her pets are. Those are things that might come up in conversation that I'm gonna forget about. So I write them down so I can remember, right? And then underneath that, it would be like 415 Jeremy, right? So keep notes on your phone or in a notebook, but you will never remember as much as you think you do. And it seems kind of silly, like why would we remember all these things? But we'll get to that. The important thing is we're trying to know them, get to see who they are, get to see what we can help them with, get to see how they can help us. All of those things are equally important. What do they like? What do they dislike? But especially their diet, which apartment or house they are, and their contact information. So, you know, what next? If I've met my neighbor and I kind of know my neighbor, what do I do now? Well, naturally, we're gonna try to get deeper. So you're gonna invite them to hang out somewhere near the neighborhood where ideally they don't have to spend money. Because, you know, some of your neighbors, and maybe even yourself, are not gonna have extra money to spend on stuff. So we're not gonna go, do you wanna go get dinner with me? We're gonna go knock on the door, say, hey, I'm having my morning cup of coffee. I have a pot brewing. Do you wanna come in for some coffee or some tea? Or, hey, you know, I go on my walks like Tuesday at 7 a.m. Maybe they're not morning people, but you know, I go on my walks Tuesday at 4 p.m., right? Whatever it is. If you're ever free, I would love to have you come on that walk with me, right? Invite them to hang out at a park or the smoking area nearby and catch up, depending on what the culture is, right? Maybe you guys both see each other already out there smoking. Go say hi. Invite them to a party that you're already throwing at your house. Maybe you're having just a get together with friends. It's not gonna hurt anything to invite a neighbor. It really isn't. So when you get them in that situation where now you're talking to them, you're gonna wanna find out, who are they, right? What do they do for work? Do they work? Have they been out of work? You know, who lives with them? Who is on their mind a lot? Who are they seeing? You wanna break the ice, right? Because you can't figure out what they need and help them unless you know something about them. And if you just keep showing up with food they can't eat, or if you keep showing up with groceries they don't need or don't want, that's gonna kind of feel overwhelming to them. Part of getting to know people is getting to know what's too much and what's not enough. And you're not gonna find that out unless you ask. So break the ice, and when it's time to go home or when it's time to wrap up, end it with, you know, if you want to chat again, I'm always here. Remind them about the phone number, especially if they've never contacted you on the phone number, or if you gave it to them and they didn't give it to you. Remind them, you have my number, right? And often that prompts them to go check. They're like, yeah, I'll message you next time, right? And at any one of these stages, at any one of these categories, they could decide, you know, I don't really like hanging out with this person, I'm gonna stop answering the door. And that's okay, right? If they're just not home, maybe try again later. But if they actively keep shutting you down, this isn't the neighbor that you're gonna find community in. It just might not be, right? And either they'll reach out to you when they're ready, or they will never reach out, and that's okay. You can put your energy towards meeting another neighbor instead of the neighbor who has nothing to do with you and wants nothing to do with you. So after we've known our neighbor, we've met our neighbor, we know our neighbor, we're getting deeper. Now we're getting into the category of, well, how do we address their needs? So first of all, what do they need, right? If every time you bring up something that is like, maybe you're like, oh, do you want to go get brunch? Because now you're friends, right? And this is, I personally would not invite my neighbors to go do something that costs money like that. That feels scary for me as someone who has occasionally and still is very money insecure, right? That would make me uncomfortable to have to say no because I know I can't afford it. But like, if they invite you in and you notice that their pantry is damn near empty, right? The pantry's damn near empty. Or if you notice that their house is like really messy, but they're never home, right? Stuff like that. Those are kind of needs that might need addressed, right? Maybe if you notice that every time you come over, there's laundry piled up like crazy and you've already done your laundry for the day, maybe you send them a text like, hey, I have a weird amount of energy right now and I'm out of laundry to do. Do you happen to have any laundry that you need help folding? I'd love to come over and help. And they can always say no, and that's okay, right? But sometimes they'll let you. Sometimes they'll even do it for you, right? But the goal isn't to get neighbors to do stuff for us. It's for the neighbors to know that we are there if they need something. It doesn't matter how much or how little you have to give. It's still your job to take care of your neighbors, just like it's their job to take care of you. But this is a culture we're trying to replenish. And right now, our culture's focused a lot on hyper-individualism, but we're in a time in our country where it's very important, probably more so than ever, that we take care of our neighbors. And if your neighbors aren't already doing that, it might be on you to start. So address needs. What do they need? What are they lacking? Bring more of those extras that you end up with, that extra plate, those extra cookies, that extra thing that came in your order. Remember their dietary restrictions and don't give them stuff they can't eat. Notice things they like or don't like and keep that in mind when you're giving them stuff. And if you notice that in all this time of you offering, your neighbor says no, your neighbor says no, your neighbor says no, but they keep hanging out with you, they keep wanting to see you, but they don't need anything from you, but you can see visibly that they need something for you, sometimes what's happening is that a lot of people don't want to ask for things if they feel like they're always in debt to you, right? If you're always offering them things and they can never help with anything, it makes them feel like it's unbalanced. So if you get a feeling that maybe your neighbor thinks it's unbalanced and doesn't feel like it's okay to ask, you're gonna go knock on their door and you're gonna ask for something small that every fucking household has, and you're gonna make sure that you can borrow something. So how that goes is, hey, do you have a flathead screwdriver? I can't find mine. And they'll go, oh yeah, let me go get that. Or, hey, do you have a lighter? I've been trying to light my candle and this lighter just keeps going out. Borrow their lighter, right? You need nutmeg for a recipe and you're out. You're one egg short on your cake, right? Now, if you're borrowing something like a spice or an egg, it's often customary to bring them like a piece of whatever you're making because, it's showing this is what you did for me. I want to give that back to you, right? But by creating that space where you're asking them for something and you're dependent on them for something, it creates an opportunity for them to feel like they can ask for help. And that's often important. So now we know our neighbor, we've met our neighbor, we've got deeper with our neighbor, and we know how to address their needs. Why are we doing all of this? What do we actually do with this? This is the stage I like to call community care. So ideally, by the time we're in the community care stage, you've met multiple of your neighbors and you know them and you're kind of chilling, you're friends. You might not be, someone going out to drinks with you every week, but it's someone that you know about and that you care about to some extent. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna alert them to issues that may affect them. If you see their taillights out when they're pulling out past you, you're gonna let them know because maybe they don't already. If you see their dog got out, you're gonna text them. If you see that, their car's not here, so they're probably not home, and there's now a power outage in the neighborhood, you might text them, hey, I don't know if you're home yet, but just wanted to let you know there's a power outage. Might be a good idea to check your fridge or anything when you get home. Something like that, right? Because these are things that if you weren't home or if you didn't know, it'd be a lot easier on your life if someone let you know, because then you can plan around those, right? So you're going to let them know about issues that may affect them. You're going to watch over their property. If you see someone drive by and knock their mailbox over, maybe take a picture of the plate as they're driving away and send it to your neighbor. Say, hey, so-and-so did this. Or, hey, I noticed that this thing fell off in your yard. You know, things that they might not see because they're at work. Or if maybe someone stole something off their porch, you let them know that, right? That builds trust with your neighbor, lets them know that you're watching out for them. And it also gives them permission to watch out for you. So, you know, watch over their property, alert them to things that affect them, but also work together with your neighbors to meet needs. If, you know, you're friends with half the neighborhood and you find out that one street is consistently having plumbing issues from the same line, maybe, you know, we all go to the HOA president or we all go to the apartment building and we talk about that together, you know, give them the strength in numbers. Or if you notice that one street or one row of apartments keeps getting hit during this, like, random car break-ins, you can team together on that. If you notice that one neighbor is not having enough food to eat that week, you can say, hey, other neighbor, do you have any cans that, you know, you're not using that I could take off your hands? You don't have to tell that other neighbor the first neighbor's business. In fact, it's probably not polite to, but you can use your other neighbors to help care for another neighbor. Just rotate the care, right? That's kind of what we're here for. But the most important thing is in times of crisis, check on your neighbor. If there's a storm, check on your neighbor. If ice is in your street, check on your neighbor. If there's cops everywhere and lights are flashing, check on your neighbor. If there was a lightning storm and it hit something nearby, check on your neighbor. It is your job to know that your neighbor is okay. And you won't always be able to, and it's not exclusively your job. It's all of our jobs as neighbors to make sure that all of our neighbors are okay. And we're gonna do the best that we can. We can't help everybody, but in times of crisis, check on your neighbors. So I hope that after watching this video, meeting your neighbors might seem a little less scary. Please keep in mind this is only one way to approach it. You know, there's probably 100 different ways you could talk to your neighbor, but as long as you are kind and respectful and you're not bothering them every single day all up their butt, it'll probably be fine. Not every neighbor is going to want to be your friend, and that's okay. Your job isn't to find a new best friend. Your job is to know who is in your neighborhood and to take care of them. So your homework for today is meet 2 neighbors, 2 of them, yes, 2 separate neighbors, and you're going to report back. Come back to my comment section, tell me how it went, tell me if it worked out, tell me if they didn't like it, tell me what advice you would workshop, tell other people in my comments what you would do differently now that you've done it a couple times. And as always, like and subscribe to see more of my videos. I'll see you next time, and I'm inserting some slides here to look at. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.